Hi everyone, it's 7 a.m. in the morning and yes, I'm at the allotment. We're having a heat wave, so I'm here really early to get all the watering done. It's just been so hot. So while I'm here and it's very quiet, I just thought I'd show you around, catch up with what's been happening. So the greenhouse is really coming into its own now. The tomatoes, as you can see, are doing really well. I have trimmed lots of the leaves off just to keep nice airflow. I had blight last year and I'm doing everything to make sure it doesn't happen again this year. I've got some beautiful plum tomatoes there. They're looking great, and next door to that some black cherry ones, and although they look ripe, the bottom of them are still a little bit green. I've planted marigolds in here this year just to help with the bugs, and as I scan around you can see in the corner I've got a tomato plant and a cucumber plant that are doing really well, and I need to wind these on, so I'm tying them up with string, and as they get taller I just wind them around the string like that, just to keep them nice and upright. And I'm doing the same with the cucumber, and I'm almost running out now of space. I think when they get to the top I'm probably going to chop them off, and then they can just concentrate on producing all the lovely fruits that they have growing at the moment. They can put all their energy into those. The chilli plants in the greenhouse are doing really well, and they're incredibly bushy this year, and that's because when I bought them they were quite spindly. Some I've grown from seed and some I bought, and they were really leggy, so I actually topped them off, and that really has encouraged them to bush out. In fact, I think some here are almost ready to pick. Yeah, so I need to get into the back there and start to pick some of those. I'm really pleased to say that the runner bean archway, it has worked really well. I'm ever so pleased. I wasn't sure if it was going to work. I did it to save space because I'm really limited on space, because I decided to grow flowers this year, but actually it's fantastic. The beans are really grown well up over the archway. They're starting to thicken up at the top, and I've already had quite a few lovely meals from my beans, so that's fantastic. The hollyhocks that are growing each side actually self-seeded, but I don't mind actually because they look really pretty there. And here are my outdoor tomatoes. This is the batch that I'm growing around a bucket, and I fill the bucket with water and that feeds them, and they're doing really well. But I have to say that the ones that I've grown in a line without a bucket, I feel that they're just doing equally as well. So at the moment I don't think there is one better way to grow them outside. They both seem to be really, doing well, so that's fine. My parsnips are doing really well now, and I have to say I planted the seed and they just didn't germinate at all this year. Katie grew her seed, or started her seed, in seed trays. Now I've never done that before and I was a bit sceptical. I didn't think it would work, but as mine failed she gave me some and I've put them in, and wow, they are looking fantastic. So well done Katie, that's a really good move. And next to that are my leeks, and I'm a little bit concerned about them because they're definitely showing signs of rust, and some of them have bolted, and I think the bolting is probably because it's hot weather and it doesn't matter how much I've watered them. So I think, even though it's quite late in the season, I might put some more seed in and see if I can get a second batch growing, because I'm a little bit concerned I won't have many left for the winter. And next to that is my Swiss chard, which has been fantastic, and I am actually harvesting a lot of this. Some of it's bolted now. Again, the heat is just making things bolt, but I have harvested a lot of chard and a lot of spinach, and I am doing a blog on how to freeze these in. So my Cosmos forest, because it is like a forest, I think I planted too many plants. Really, they're quite thick. They're doing really well, and I've had some beautiful vases of flowers from those. There are some white ones in there, but at the moment it just seems to be mainly the pink ones you can see. Well, my pumpkin and courgette patch is practically unrecognisable from my last vlog. It's great. I'm really happy. It needs a little bit of a tidy up. Some of these leaves that have got the white on, I'm going to trim those off, and definitely had a lot of courgettes already. I can see a yellow one that's ready to pick there. And I have been making courgette and cumin soup and freezing it in for the winter. I'm going to be making some ratatouille with it as well. I just need to find another recipe, some other way of using them up, but actually so that I can use them in the winter. I've frozen them in years gone by, just sliced them and frozen them. I just really don't like them after they've been frozen. So if anybody's got any ideas of ways to use them, that I can use them again through the winter months, please let me know. It's always good to hear your ideas. It's lovely to share ideas like that. So yeah, please let me know. So I did keep the asparagus bed for now. In fact, it did quite well in the end, not as well as I'd like it to have done, but I did also find that you can plant tomatoes in amongst asparagus, so I didn't feel that I was wasting the space completely. I have planted some tomato plants in amongst the asparagus and they're doing really well. In fact, I think right down the bottom there looks like there's some picking this morning. The sweet peas smell sensational, and I've got them growing up the first archway as you come in, and these are just a mixed variety and they've been fantastic. Next to that I have my rhubarb and my raspberry bushes, and these are the later variety, so although the raspberries are forming now, they're not ready to pick yet. My cutting flowers have been a great success, and you will not believe how many times I'm cutting these in a week, and still they keep coming. I'm supplying my family and half the village at the moment with flowers, but that's fine. It's really lovely to be able to knock on the door and give somebody a bunch of flowers, and it makes people smile, and that's nice. I'm enjoying this, so I will definitely continue with flowers next year. So my spring onions are here, and I just keep a little corner for them. I do a pot, and as they shoot, then I plant them out in clusters, so that I've always got a bunch of spring onions to take home, and I'll be taking home this bunch today. They're looking quite good, and behind that several other bunches at different stages, all the way round and all the way down to some very tiny ones, and then I've got some in the greenhouse that are just planted now, so that I've always got a bunch of spring onions to bring home, and I found this much easier than planting them in rows. So this is where my shallots were, and they started to die off. They were ready to pull, so I've pulled them at home drying in baker's trays on the driveway. This weather's been great for drying the onions, I have to say. That I think a couple more days and I will start stringing them. So decided to reuse this patch, and I've just put in some more French beans. It's a little bit late, but I think with the weather being so good, providing I keep them watered, they may be okay. So I'll get like a second flush of French beans later on. The ones I've got in at the moment are doing great guns, and I've been freezing a lot in, but having lots of fresh ones in salads and cooking them with roast dinners. I just love French beans, so yeah, they've been good. They're dwarf French beans, and I find they're really easy to grow. And the onions are definitely finished, and they're starting to, tops are drying out. You can see some of the lettuce that I planted between them has now bolted again. It's just been so hot. Yeah, so the onions have done amazingly well. They're absolutely beautiful, and there's red, Baron and Stuttgart, and yeah, they're all nice, good size. I did try spooning some of the onions, which is where you pull the earth away. If you pull the earth away from them as they grow, they're supposed to grow bigger. I have to say, the ones I just did a few just to see. It made absolutely no difference whatsoever. The ones here at the back haven't been touched, and they're still very, very big. So my peas are coming towards the end now, and I don't know whether I'm tempted to almost put in some more and see if I can get, like the French beans, a second flush of peas. They've been lovely. They've been so sweet. I just sometimes get frustrated when you pick tons and tons, take them home, and by the time you've shelled them, you've only got a little bowl full, and you just think, was that worth it? But when you eat them, you think, yeah, it's definitely worth it, because they're just so sweet, so lovely. I have frozen a few in, but not a great deal, because one, you don't have a lot, but also they're just so nice. We can't stop eating them. And as part of my picking flowers this year, I planted little Dorset sunflowers, and I haven't actually picked any yet. They just look so sweet. I don't want to pick them. I will take some home at some point, but aren't they just beautiful? So that's little Dorset, and that's as tall as they get, but they get lots of heads on each plant, which makes them perfect for taking home, for picking and popping in a vase. Next to that are my French beans, and as I say, they have been fantastic. I haven't picked for a couple of days, so I'm hoping this morning to be able to pick a few and take some home. Then next to that is my spinach, which I have picked and picked. I love spinach because you just pick it and then you come back the next day and it's already growing back, and I'm going to pack as much of this in the freezer as I can for the winter months. And next to that are a couple of rows of beetroot and a few milk thistles. I've actually had COVID, so I had 2 weeks where I wasn't really coming up here. Friends and family, bless them all, did all the watering for me, and I'm so grateful. They kept everything alive. But now I'm back, I'm like, where did all these thistles come from? It was only 2 weeks, but it's amazing how just all the weeds and things soon pop up. And I have more sweet peas further down the allotment on another archway, and these are old-fashioned sweet peas, and they're just beautiful. And just down here I have some more lettuce, just some mixed lettuce that I've put in. They're in their early stages, and now I've got some more in the greenhouse to plant out. And as soon as I've planted that out, I will put some more seed in the greenhouse, so I have a constant supply of lettuce. And just at the back here, I have some celery. This is the second time I've grown celery. I grew celery the very first year I had my allotment. It didn't grow very well, and it was really bitter, and it put me off, but somebody offered me some plants, and I thought, well, I'll just have another try. So I've put them in, and I'll see what happens. And again, I've got a few plants here, some beautiful larkspur, and this larkspur was some seed that somebody gave me. It was actually my mum gave me, that the birds brought into her garden, and it was one blue flower, and she gave me all the seeds she had, and from that grew these beautiful blue larkspur and also white ones. Now, I did plant strawberries and some lettuce in some guttering. It was doing great guns, but as I say, then I was unwell with COVID, and it really does need a good watering every day. And as much as my lovely friends and family watered for me, I think it got missed, and this is the result, is it's all died off. So I've given up on that, but I think I might try again next year. I might put something in the bottom of them just to keep the moisture in a bit more for a bit longer. But yeah, I'm not going to give up completely, but for this year, yeah, they're done, they're dead. Which, you know, that's gardening. Some things do well, some things don't. You know, sometimes you can't help it if you're unwell, and you've got to rely on other people. You can't always be here, and it's just the way it is. So you have to just accept that sometimes things don't work out quite how you want it to. But it's a beautiful morning. It's just gone 7 AM, and which is a bit mad, but as I say, it has been incredibly hot, and it's going to be a really hot day again today. So I'm going to say goodbye to you now. I'm going to get all my watering done, get all my harvesting done, and then I'm going to go home and relax in the cottage garden. So I've been here a couple of hours now, and I've actually pulled up my red onions and I've put them in a basket to take home so that I can dry them on the driveway. The shallots are almost dry. In place of them, I have planted some little lettuce plants that were in the greenhouse, and I've put a circle of coffee grounds that we get from a local coffee shop around them. I'm hoping that will deter the slugs. I may need to cover them at some point if the birds spot them. And then I decided, because it's so warm and this weekend's going to be a really hot weekend, I've decided to pull my onions. I normally wait till they flopped over a bit more, but they're dying off. They are as big as I want them to be for sure. So I've pulled them all and I've laid them out so they can get the sun now and they can start to dry off, and hopefully this weekend, with the really hot weather, and the beginning of next week is supposed to be very hot, that will really start to dry them off, and then I can take them home if the weather changes and finish drying them at home by just putting them in the garage in the night times and taking them out and putting them on the driveway in baker's trays during the day, so that they're ready to be strung later on. So yeah, I decided last minute, yeah, I'm just going to pull them. They look fantastic, and I've led them out the best I can so that they can get lots and lots of sun on them today and over the next few days to help them dry. So underneath the two very large piles of red onions that are ready to take home to dry out, I've actually got some squash, some courgettes, and this is a spaghetti squash, which I love, and they're so easy to cook. You just cut them in half and you drizzle with a little bit of olive oil and you cook them in their skins in the oven, and they are fantastic, and I could just eat them on their own. I've also picked some sugar snap peas today and a few ordinary peas. They are close to finishing now, and some French beans, which I'll probably try to pop in the freezer later. So I hope you enjoyed the quick tour. Yeah, and I'm sorry if I look a bit bedraggled. It is very early, and I've literally dragged myself out of bed early to get up here to get everything done. So I apologise if I look a bit sleepy, because I am, and I'll see you all very soon. Now don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will keep showing you what we're doing at our allotments and in the cottage garden and all of the other things that we do around Dorset. Take care.